Meanwhile, Iran's nuclear program, the target of EU sanctions, is being scrutinized by UN inspectors. Tehran has offered IAEA officials the chance to extend their mission and says it's ready to answer any questions to prove its atomic ambitions are peaceful. And to discuss the situation, I'm now joined live by the radio host of Taking Aim program, Ralph Schoenman. Mr. Schoenman, thank you so much indeed for your time. So, Iran offered UN inspectors the chance to prolong their mission, yet the EU imposed an oil embargo a week ago, saying Iran isn't cooperating. Are there signs showing that, in fact, Iran wants to work with the agency?
Well, I think you have to understand that the entire predicate of an entitlement to impose oneself through the aegis of the United Nations or whatever pretext on a sovereign state and on its energy policies and how it conducts its internal affairs is itself an example, a paradigm of imperial dominion that the U.S. exercises both over the world body and over subject peoples throughout the world. It is entirely an example of imperial hubris that there is a presumption made that the United States, that has bases, military bases of occupation all over the world, that wages war of subjugation for the control over people's resources, that targets countries to fragment them and to break them up into their ethnic and religious components. This imperial agenda, which takes countries ad seriatim as their targets, now concentrating on Iran, expresses the permanent war that is waged against subject peoples by American corporate capitalism. This United Nations has forever been an instrument of such imperial policy. The Palestinian people themselves were subject to the carving up of their country and the imposition of a colonial settler state through the aegis of the United Nations. The UN has been the vehicle for imperial policy in one form or another because the member states have essentially the same class structure as that which governs the United States itself. This question of international inspection in Iran of their nuclear energy program is itself an expression of imperial hubris, as I say. It is
yes, Mr. Schoenman, just may I ask, Tehran seems certain it can convince the atomic agency that its program is peaceful, but is the West really interested in hearing that?
Well, I would put it to you that whether or not the Iranian population or the country of Iran or the nation of Iran elects to have nuclear weapons is no one's damned business. Particularly, I mean, is the state of Israel subject to these demands, which has 400 and 500 hydrogen bomb-bearing missiles that target the countries surrounding it and have for 40 and 50 years? Does the United States itself, which targets peoples around the world with weapons of mass destruction, get subject to such United Nations demands and inspection? The very idea that Iran is somehow obligated to open its frontiers to inspectors who are essentially penetrated and permeated by the Central Intelligence Agency and the Mossad expresses what I am attempting to say to you, that this is outrageous, it has no legitimacy, and it should be repudiated and exposed for what it is. The same syndrome was present before the attempts to destroy Iraq. The claim that was made before the United Nations that Saddam Hussein had a nuclear program targeting the United States, total fabrication. It is the same with respect to Iran. First, they attempt to cut off Iran's oil trading capacity, its ability to import replacement equipment for its refineries. Then they want to tie up its banking and to preclude people from trading with its banks. Then every company that is in fact engaged in trade with Iran is subject by the United States to penalty. What do you think this is but an act of war? Blockade is an act of war. These sorts of embargoes are act of war. Hundreds of thousands of Iraqi children died as a result of the embargo imposed upon Iraq. The same fate is intended for Iran. This entire charade is an expression of imperial aggression and targeting.
Mr. Schoenman, Iran's threatening to stop oil supplies to just some European countries, as opposed to a previous threat to ban exports to the whole EU. Why has its stance changed?
Well, I would just put it to you that the imperial propaganda with respect to Iran at the moment is this dog is vicious. If you step on its neck, it tries to bite your foot. That's the whole rationale here. With respect to Iran acquiescing in allowing UN inspectors to go there nominally to diffuse the situation, it's a hopeless quest. I say hopeless because the United States and the European capitalist powers will always up the ante. And you can be absolutely sure that the reports back for one or more of these inspectors functioning as intelligence operatives will say, well, there's evidence that they may be doing this and they may be doing that.
All right.
There's no win here. These countries are being imposing themselves on the sovereign nation of Iran. Would the United States or Great Britain subject itself to such demands from Iran? Although, after all, it's not only Iran. Country after country.
Mr. Shulman, we just have to leave it there, unfortunately. Radio host Ralph Shulman, thank you very much indeed for joining us.